explaining my research paper in question, and the research paper title is Glory Road and Standpoint Theory, how they go hand in hand. So, as you can probably tell, we're talking about standpoint theory, which is in our textbook, a closer look to communication theory. And the authors of this theory are Sandra Harding and Julia T. Wood. And first, when we have to look at standpoint theory, we also have to look at what the definition of standpoint actually is. So Harding and Wood define standpoint as a place from which to critically view the world around us. Makes pretty much sense. And so then, going from the definition of standpoint, we go to what does standpoint theory mean? Standpoint theory means a theory that is concerned with the various levels of people's perceptions. So, when we talk about standpoint theory, the research question that I came up with was, how do standpoints affect people's reaction to change? And to explain that, I used the movie Glory Road. So if you guys have never watched it, actually, first of all, how many of you guys have actually watched Glory Road? Anybody? All right, 3. That's good. Good number. But no, so Glory Road is set back in 1966 to head coach Don Haskins. This is him right there in the picture. He was a former high school girls basketball player in Fort Worth, Texas. Ends up getting a job at Texas Western University, which is now UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso. And the story of the movie is basically he comes in his first year on the job, and in the South in the 60s, wins a national championship with 5 black players in the starting lineup, which is a big thing because back in the 60s, we know segregation was a huge thing, and he was basically taking a huge risk by even recruiting more than one black player. So to go on to explain more things about the standpoint theory and how it relates to Glory Road and how we can explain it. First, we want to talk about how when Haskins came into the job in the first place, he looked around at Texas Western, which was a small Division I school at the time, and coming from high school girls basketball, he wasn't expecting too much, but he wasn't really expecting what he got. There was birds in the rafters of the gym. Him and his family of 4 had to stay in the boys' dorms of the university, and really he wasn't getting paid that much either. When he asked his assistant coach, Mo Eba, about what the budget was for recruiting, all Eba could tell him was it was in a lapse. So what does he do? He goes to the Kansas State, or the Kansas High School Summer League, held in Kansas City, and looks around at players for potential recruits. Not a lot of white players wanted to go there because, well, 1, they weren't winning. 2, this coach just got done coaching girls basketball. And 3, who the hell wants to go to El Paso in the desert? So basically, what he had to do was go find people that didn't know anything about El Paso or Texas Western. So where do you find that? Black people in the inner cities in the north. So he goes and he finds basically playground players. He goes to Detroit, Michigan, Gary, Indiana, and the South Bronx in New York. Finds 7 recruits to fill his team for the next season. 7 recruits is pretty good, but when you got 7 black players in the 60s in the South, some of the alumni and boosters of the university weren't really sure how that was really going to work. But, so that leads me to my first point is local knowledge. Now, local knowledge is explained in standpoint theory of knowledge related to situation, time, and experience, and relative power. Now, when you look at local knowledge, as it's defined in the textbook, basically, the boosters and the alumni of the university, you would think would be happy that their season was starting off with a full roster, and Texas Western actually won their first game. That's not really the case. They were more worried about these 3 Negroes that actually started on their basketball team and kind of tainted their image of the university. So as you can see, standpoint theory kind of shows us that it really does depend on what you value as important to how you see a certain situation or experience a certain situation. This also brings me to my second point, that is situated knowledge. Situated knowledge is just like it sounds, knowledge based on or depending on a situation. And this will always be biased according to Harding and Wood because it depends on the situation. In situations, how you think of the situation depends on your experiences and how you talk. So no matter how you look at the situation, your view on it will always be biased to your past. And Glory Road basically shows this when they bring in these 7 black players into El Paso, which was a very big culture shock too for them. Their standpoint coming into El Paso here in Mexican music, looking at white guys wearing cowboy hats and huge belt buckles. They didn't really know how to like approach everybody. There was one scene in the movie where all 7 of these black players were walking into the university. There's a bunch of white guys looking at them, and one guy, Neville Shedd from New York, said, "You got to walk up to him and say howdy, like this." So he does it, and the white guys just look at him like, "What are you doing?" So then one of the other guys, David Satin from Houston, says, "No, you got to say hola." He goes up to these mariachi bands playing on the side of the street, says hola, and Neville Shedd asks him, "Well, what does that even mean?" And Satin says, "It means hello to Puerto Ricans." They're Mexican. So standpoint theory shows in every facet of this movie, whether you're a black person, a white person, young, old, girl or boy, standpoint theory is really, really good to explain this whole movie. And the third point I want to talk about is strong objectivity. Now, strong objectivity is defined in the text as the strategy of starting research from the lives of women and other marginalized groups, which upon critical reflection and resistance provides them with less false view of reality. So basically, the marginalized views and women, which is a marginalized group, view the world with more reality than people with power. Because people with power are only focused on keeping that power. Whereas marginalized groups basically are looking to see how did the power group develop all that power and gain all this trust within the society, and how can I better do that in adversity as a marginalized person. So this also says that subordinate groups seek to understand the perspective of more powerful groups, just like I said. So in conclusion, I talked about strong objectivity when it comes to standpoint theory. I also talked about situated knowledge and local knowledge, and I also gave you a little rundown of what Glory Road is all about.